What's good, everybody? It's your main man, Apostle Raw, here to edify and entertain while giving game in Jesus' name.
That's right. Travis and the Ghost here. 52 Tuesdays. I don't know why that was funny. Was it an awkward pause or something?
It was the eye to eye.
That's right, Apostle Raw. I'm here.
I'm here.
E-Dub Will in the building representing the Spitters Forum. What's good?
Man, we are live today. I'm drinking coffee and trying to talk at the same time. Real quick, I'm gonna lay it out there. Spitters Forum, one of the illest battle rap leagues out between the Poetics and the actual forum being a battle rap scene. Check that out. Spitters Forum, fire.
Good look, man. I appreciate
52 Tuesdays. Tell them what that's about, man.
So I drop a new song every single Tuesday of 2020, along with a devotional, and I'm doing beat making videos weekly. So yeah, just a lot of content that, in my mind, I hope shifts the way that culture moves and thinks. So
That's dope.
that. That's dope.
every Tuesday.
Where did they find that at?
You can find that Travis and the Ghost on YouTube. You can find me on any streaming service, Travis and the Ghost. If you just remember the name Travis and the Ghost, you will find me everywhere and anywhere. So
Dope.
Yeah.
And how do we find some of the past Spitters Forum, and then kind of let us know where we're going in the future with it?
Yeah, definitely the same. You can find us on YouTube, other social media platforms, Facebook. You can find us on the gram. You can find us on Twitter. And then as far as future stuff goes, we're still getting a lot of battles together as far as the kind of stuff that we want to do. So I've been given a larger role at my church now, so a lot of that has been kind of backburnering for the most part. But I get to satisfy that, which is really cool, through the sold out events and stuff that we're doing at our church now.
And those are pretty live too.
Yeah, those.
When
are
is
dope.
the next sold out event?
It's going to be June 20th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, I'm ready.
dope.
June 20th. That's gonna be lit.
Yes,
and
sir.
you can find me wherever Apostle Raw, Spotify, all that old good stuff, YouTube, everything, music, videos.
speaking of that, the 52 Tuesday song of this week
Right.
is a collabo between you and I.
What?
Go ahead.
The come up.
Buy it on iTunes. How about that part?
I mean, people
Support
are
'em.
not buying songs.
Support 'em.
Let's be real.
Bye.
Can you just stream it 1,000 times for us?
A day, right? Like as many times as you can get a day. So I wanted to jump into some things. We had some topics going on in Facebook that got kind of litty, a couple of different ones. And I'm going to be honest, I was happy about that because it sparked conversation, and that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? Being able to connect and share ideas, and you don't have to agree.
That's
but
right.
let's jump into hip hop, the state of hip hop just off the bat. We've all been in hip hop for a long time, right? So we've seen different eras. How do you feel from when you first fell in love with hip hop to today? You know what I'm saying? Are we evolving? Are we devolving? Are we digressing? Are we growing? What's getting stronger? What's getting weaker? What are your thoughts?
Wow. That's a loaded question. I guess I'll just go ahead and start. I feel like, if you want to call it the state of hip hop, the way I feel about it, I come from the era of that massive, I think a lot of us can agree that huge kind of renaissance, or that pinnacle of the 90s hip hop, that you saw a lot of diversity, a lot of different styles that were out there, a bunch of groups, and all of their unique and different sounds. And so I was always drawn to larger groups or larger types of groups. My particular favorite was the Native Tongues, and so that was Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul, Black Sheep, and Jungle Brothers, and all those. And I've always liked the large aspect of what that sound. I think LONS was kind of like more of like a part of it, but not officially a part of the Native Tongues. But that particular group for myself, and as I've listened to hip hop over the years, when you kind of got into the 2000s, it was definitely a lot more showy. I don't want to say it became less about lyricism. I felt like and a lot of the things that I was listening to had a lot of a story to tell, whereas I felt like particular genres or types of that got a bit showy, got a bit more about the cars and the things that they're flaunting and all that, as opposed to the actual thing that
craft.
I felt like the craft. There you go. That's the word. So, and then now there are, I would say, in my personal opinion, very little that I will actually mess with or listen to, because to me, I felt like there's just this place where everybody sort of found this little niche area of their particular flow, and it all sounds the same to me. Now, so there are some that have broken out of that. You got your Kendricks, you got your Coles, you've got, at least those are the two that I can identify. Your Drakes, people like, and I guess there was something about whether or not Drake was actually writing any of his stuff, but whatever, controversy, right? But one of those things. And you had some that kind of broke away from that. So nowadays, when I hear some of it, there's some that it's like, okay, I understand what it is. It's a hype. It's a movement. They're trying to get a lot of the young folks behind it. I don't feel like they left us behind per se, or at least for me, I'll speak because I'm an older guy, whatever. But I don't want to say it devolved. I want to say it definitely broke into something that was new, but I feel like everybody sits in that pocket. So that's my opinion for that.
Word. That's deep.
I mean, I think one of the biggest things is that people dislike change. And when we look at the amount of hip hop that's available today to compare to when we were younger,
Sure.
it's tremendous. I mean, the number one song in the world right now, right, is The Box.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Shout out to Roddy Ricch.
Okay.
I mean, and you can't get the song out of your head. I'm just being real.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it less lyrical? I don't think so. Is it more ratchet? It's just as ratchet as hip hop has always been.
No doubt.
Oh yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like, I think when you look at the amount of hip hop that's available and the amount of different styles, like there's plenty for you to consume. And I don't think at all that we have the right to judge anybody's version of hip hop as an art form.
Sure.
We can say I like or I don't like, you know what I mean? But this is what these kids are doing. You can't stop it.
No doubt.
And it's going to continue to change and metamorphose into whatever it's going to be 10 years from now. And I think if we want to stay relevant and influential to the next generations, we have to kind of understand what is the heartbeat of this? Why are they making this kind of music?
Right.
What are they experiencing in life that is inspiring this kind of music?
Yeah.
And I mean, the reality is most of the hip hop I listen to, it just turns my stomach because of the nature of what they're talking about.
Sure.
But musically, I'm like, oh my goodness, this sonically sounds amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
I feel like hip hop has changed, but I think that there's just as many lyricists as there was before, and there's just as much, I don't even know what I would call it, like just fun music, right? We'll just call it that. Just out of respect, we'll call it fun music, right?
Yeah.
Just cats just having a good time, and if you're having a good time and that's on, like if I just gave you $10,000 and they put the box on, you're gonna be boxing. It's just gonna,
Right.
that's just it.
That's
'Cause it's
gonna be your
fun
theme
music,
song.
right? And so that kind of thing. I mean, Nelly was doing it. Tons of people were doing it before.
Every
that.
generation has its own version.
And it's always at the top of the genre too, in the sense of sales or streams or whatever. I think that because I had to dive deep at first, I wasn't feeling it. I was like, nah, man, this is, and I got to a point where I just started like kind of seeking, because hip hop has changed in the sense of like, you gotta find it. It's not MTV BET no more. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I'm gonna watch this top 10 and then I'm gonna identify with what I identify with, and whoever's connected to them, I'm gonna rock with it. There's some dope cats you may never ever find, because that type of stuff doesn't matter anymore. You gotta kind of seek in these crevices and stuff like that. And it's some crazy, amazing artists right now that are doing a mixture of traditional with what's going on now. You know what I mean? So I think we're in a good place there, but I want to transition from that because the big question online was really about Christian hip hop. I asked the question, I said, is Christian hip hop dead? Right? And that was in the spirit of the whole Nas thing, like, is hip hop dead, right? And I said in the video emphatically, never. I can never believe that Christian hip hop is dead. That don't even make sense. But a lot of people always want to say that. So when we're talking about Christian hip hop, which is also going through a change, just like, traditional hip hop, which sounds weird, but no,
it's a pretty good comparison,
right? Traditional hip hop. Where do you feel like we're at there? Is Christian hip hop trash? Because there was some cats talking wild, like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, just straight corny garbage. I mean, we've even heard other Christian rappers say that about their own genre.
Yep.
Like, this is how you make your living. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's like a football player saying football is stupid, but you know what I mean? I'm just out here on the field. It just doesn't make sense.
And we've talked about this even with like Christian film. It's the same kind of principle behind it.
Yeah, I guess so.
That people say, oh, because you're doing it for God, well, then it's more acceptable and we'll take you wherever your talent is at, right? And I think there's this common thing where it's like, we want to encourage you because you're doing it for God. We don't want to discourage you from growing in your craft, but that doesn't mean that you should have a platform yet because it's not quality yet, right?
Right, absolutely.
And, I mean, let's be honest. The only reason there's a stereotype of Christian rap being corny is because there's been a lot of corny Christian hip hop released in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Okay.
I was going to say,
let's
Even
put that
to
in
this
this
day,
context.
I mean, you visit any Christian hip hop forum or page or group within Facebook, right? There's going to be some corny stuff posted.
No doubt.
There. And I think that's the stereotype that's being preceded here. So
Right. So I want to pass this off to you, but in all honesty, Christian hip hop is. I'm gonna go there. It's the best it's ever been.
Yes.
Like we're there. There is no underneath. Like I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't see these guys as beneath the rappers that are out now. Nah, they will rap circles.
No doubt.
We will rap circles.
No doubt.
Around tons of these artists that are at the forefront, and the beats are not worse. You know what I'm saying? The music is quality and it's fired. Now, I want you to take over from there.
Okay, so I would definitely like to piggyback on what you were saying about the quality thing. I absolutely agree with that. And can we talk about other radio shows and things that are going on? Okay, so every Friday, I'm over at Gorilla Cross. So shout out to Quan 59 and James Mays. So I'm there, and we always, at least every time that we've got an interview and we're on, we will typically always get at least, or we'll listen to about 3 or 4 different indie tracks that come out. And you're right, there's a lot out there that is, I don't know if even corny would really describe it. Just some of it, the production is bad. The beat, the way that they put that stuff on there, it's not mastered. It sounds horrible. And some of it in there, just the way that they're mixing different sounds and trying to do all that. I mean, we'll give it probably like, if it makes 30 seconds, then we're cutting it off. And then we're very honest in our critique about what we think about the music. And a lot of times
I'm about to submit something.
Hey,
so y'all can just tear it up.
I'm gonna slide something too.
You know what? And it'd be dope. So just check it out, because we'll typically post, and then you can put the links in there and we'll put them on. So anyway, so the point being is I agree with that, with the whole quality thing. I agree with that 100%. Now, so I dialogued with you about this yesterday.
Right.
And I got to watch the blog, what you put in there, Christian Hip Hop Dead. This is probably the third, maybe the second time this year I've actually seen that in a title somewhere. And that immediately sparks my attention, because I'm like, no, it's not dead.
Right.
It's all in how you perceive it. And I'm gonna have a lot of energy on this one, because my thing is I hate the moniker of it being called corny. And just as much as what you said about a particular person, how do we judge the intent behind someone who is putting out music, right? And the biggest thing is that we're obviously or ultimately drawing them to Jesus. So that's what we want, right? So if corny means that the production isn't great and it doesn't sound as good, cool. If he's using Jesus 100 times in his song, I don't have a problem with that. That's just me personally, right? A lot of people don't like that. And I pose the same question. So when Kanye West dropped Jesus is King, and basically all he did in there was talk about Jesus throughout the entire project, everybody lit that thing up and thought it was the firest thing they'd ever heard. When if you listen to it, it's way basic compared to the people that we listen to now.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And no shade to Kanye West. He did his thing. He converted. God did an excellent thing in his life, and now he's saying it's gospel. He released a gospel album that was way low key after that, which I enjoyed too. And that was basically all gospel, a lot of choir stuff in there, all good. The Sundays that he does, etc. Now, for someone to say that, well, because you're putting Jesus in, yeah, we accept you because you're putting Jesus in there, that to me is like cool, but you're giving it a pass on the pretense that it's Jesus and you're not listening to the quality.
Right.
You know, so to me, I listen to guys all the time like Eshawn Burgundy. I listen to Atiba Halisi. I listen to John Keith. I listen to William Cada. This is a guy I found like literally months ago.
He's doing his thing.
Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you look at how these guys are actually putting gospel in their music, and William Cada will give you Jesus all day long in his music, all of it. Not a song goes by that he's not mentioning Jesus at all. And to me, it's like, can you look at that and say, well, that's corny because he's putting Jesus in it? So to me, I just feel like it.
I don't think the pretext is that putting Jesus in a song is corny at all. I don't think that's what makes
and someone made the same argument.
Corny.
Yeah,
I mean, I think what makes it corny is the delivery and then the trying to replicate a sound from what secular hip hop is doing in order to kind of pull this stream. It's almost like this, gotcha, like, oh, you thought it was cool. We on the wave, man. We catching the vibe. Now, boom, Jesus. You know?
You know what? To add to what you're saying, there was a time in Christian hip hop where you had to be the Christian version of and everybody was the version of. And I could see how, like, because imagine if there was a church around the corner and there was the Christian version of me and the Christian version of you and this church version of you, and it would be whack automatically. You wouldn't feel that because like, why are you trying to be the this of me? Like,
you know, that's funny you say that, because what put me on the Tunnel Rats when I got saved a long time ago was I likened them to like a Wu-Tang Clan of Christian hip hop, because there's so many in the clique and then they all do their own individual music and it's all good. And then branches off of Tunnel Rats, you had Deep Space 5, who's got a bunch of guys in it, but then they're all as good. Like, I just listened to something Sivion dropped not that like literally a week ago, and then Manchild with Marzil dropped Win-Win or something like that. He just dropped something on YouTube, which I thought was crazy. And their 555 mixtape that Deep Space 5 did together was crazy. It's only 5 tracks, but it's awesome. You know what I mean? So,
but check it, they don't sound like Wu-Tang.
No doubt.
You know
I'm saying, but I'm going to the draw. I'm going to that perspective of this is what they sound like. There's a guy, I can't remember his name right now, but he got signed with Derek Minor, and but years ago before it was minor league, and he's a white guy that sounded like Jay-Z. And he and when I heard that, I was like, I got to listen to this guy, but I love it. I still have it in my car. You know what I mean? So when you're right, it's kind of that draw of, which can be corny. I feel like he's still a really good lyricist. I still feel like Deep Space 5 and Tunnel Rats are still, well, Deep Space 5 probably more so than Tunnel Rats. But anyway.
So here's, I don't think it was, the thing to me is I believe it was corny to the world, right? The world in the sense of people that are not Christians. They're watching you emulate something else and they're like, oh, that's like little kid version. That's like talent show version. That's corny. Why did we adopt saying it's corny with them? This is our thing. And that's where my problem was like, but why would you say that if you're here? You know what I mean? And I think Dayton made a great when the whole thing happened with Andy Mineo.
Yes.
And he said that, and Dayton was very articulate in the way he expressed, like, yo, you treat us like a little brother that you're ashamed of. You know what I mean? Like, every time you guys get on a platform where, you know what I'm saying, you're a Sway in the Morning or something, you just disrespect the whole culture.
And a lot of us helped you get to that platform.
And we're buying
just
your
as
album.
fans.
It's not the guys that are watching Sway are not buying your album like that. Let's keep it real. It's the churches. And you know what I mean? There was I think Dayton had hollered at Lecrae and, you know, the whole Andy thing about that. And there was dialogue between both camps and respect between both camps. And I think that's kind of died down where we're just
absolutely
killing ourselves, cannibalizing ourselves. But I want to jump into the next part because that's great dialogue to go into this. Now, there's also been this humongous divide in Christian hip hop where are you doing it for a ministry? Is it for Jesus to spread the gospel? Or are you just rapping to be cool and be a Christian? And that's the way that the ministry guys see it. Whereas the guys that are Christian artists are like, I'm trying to break into this place where we're not honored and respected and present the gospel. And you know what I'm saying? And it's like, but you guys are lame. You know what I mean? Because you guys don't even try to like sharpen your sword or whatever. And so there's this thing where it's like, well, you're a compromiser. And it's like, well, you're not talented. And there's always been this divide between that, right? I've seen that myself, like different camps hating on each other because this camp is like a church and this camp is like a record label. You know what I mean? And they just don't approve of each other. Where do you guys sit with that?
First of all, it's based on appearances and perspectives, and you don't know what goes on behind the scenes of a record label.
Yeah.
I don't think we can really judge anybody's life without being within the camp. Like if you're in a camp and you have influence within a camp and you see certain things happening, like, hey guys, this looks like we're just performing, you know, state to state, and it doesn't look like where's the fruit of what's happening here, you know? So I think, and that's not really anything that I personally don't have information like that about these groups of people. So I can't speak on that, but I do believe that as a Christian with maturity, you realize that you are a minister first, and that however you conduct yourself in business is still kind of founded in you as a servant of Christ. So that's, I mean, if you take that perspective and apply it to a record label, what does that look like, you know? So.
Yeah. And I like that dichotomy. I like that you can take that and there's a split there. And as a matter of fact, and you know, another local shout out, Icy Jones just asked this question on, you know, he's got a podcast that they do. Forgive me because I don't remember the name, but you know, that was definitely something he asked for. You know, should we get paid or is this something we do?
Right.
You know,
I was on that feed.
Okay. Yeah. And you know, I feel like they should absolutely, if this is something that they're taking and trying to break into the industry with, and I've had conversations with people, and you know, with the Spitters Forum, or if I'm doing something, or when I was at His Hop, or when I'm trying to do the sold out stuff, I've had people turn me down because the first thing they do ask is, hey, how much can you pay me? And I'm like, well, I can't pay you anything, so if you can come out just on the strength of maybe you want some, you know, stage time to burn or et cetera, then I want to do that for you. Otherwise, that's cool. And they're like, you know what, I can't, this is why. And I've always respected that. I'm like, cool, I get it. This is what you do. You're trying to make it an industry thing. Awesome. You know what I mean? But I'm always like, if you got a mixtape or something you want to throw out there, maybe you want to throw out a few tracks and there's some people, I can gather some folks and we can do something.
Right.
But when you take it from that perspective, then I've always respected that. But then with the people who are using it as a means to be able to share the gospel, and you know, they don't care if they get paid, and you know, they go out and they're just trying to do it to spread the word, you know, more or less, if you want to call it that, then I respect that grind as well, and I push more towards that because I feel like there's a lot of, I mean, in our city alone, you know, I feel like there's a lot of gems here that nobody really pays attention to. And you know, present company in the room, you know, you guys are a part of, when I started understanding what Christian hip hop looked like in this city, you guys were a part of that. And the first part of that I saw, you know, and then I got to know Icy and then Jay Fence, and, you know, when Gary moved and G Bless was doing his thing and they were GXT and it was all that, like I had these different people that I could reach out to, and I've always respected that. You know, a lot of them just did it because they were doing. Lowry right now, he kind of switched from, you know, he's definitely getting a lot more paid. He's dropping more consistent albums, and his music is incredible right now. And he doesn't care if he gets paid or not, but if he can, he'll take it. Otherwise, he just wants to, you know, not only put the music out there for the exposure, but he's spreading, you know, the gospel too. So, you know, I don't know if that answers the question. I feel like, yeah, on that side of it, then too, I also can respect that as well.
I agree with all that.
Yeah.
I think the question that I'm trying to ask is, why can't these two quote unquote camps get along?
Oh,
Why has there been this unsettling in that it always seems like it breaks down? Like you hear these guys backbite these guys and these guys backbite these. And this is my personal experience.
Yep.
This is
I've seen it.
I've lived through this and walked on both sides because I didn't grow up Christian and I didn't start rapping Christian.
Right.
So when I came in, I was all about bars, but the way that the Lord changed my life, there's no way I'm not going to share. There's nothing more valuable to me than to share that.
Yeah.
So of course I'm going to share that. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I never was cool with the not trying to be the best lyricist or rapper that you could be. You know what I mean? Like, let's not just be sloppy just because we're with Jesus. You know what I mean? So I've always kind of walked in that line of like I feel this heart, but I feel this mind. You know what I mean?
This is just an observation, guys.
Yes.
People in general, I think we can apply this to many different aspects of life. People in general want to be surrounded by other people that believe what they believe.
Okay.
And you could see it in politics, you could see it in community and relationships, in music, and this exact dichotomy that you're talking about, this kind of separation between, is this a business or an entertainment goal, or is this strictly ministry?
Yeah.
And this is my lane. Like we naturally as human beings want to be surrounded by people that look and believe like us, and then we talk about other people that don't.
Yeah.
That's the nature of
that's real.
that's the nature of human beings.
Yeah.
Right.
Under the mindset of I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. I'm sure there's a
I get that,
psychological
yeah.
term for this, but I think that's what people struggle with on all different aspects of life. So to break out of that, you have to get outside of your comfort zone, break bread with people that are extremely different than you,
Yeah.
and hear people's hearts, understand where they're coming from, and realize at the end of the day, every man is responsible to manage himself according to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And we're not all called to do the same things. I know personally, I've dealt with this thing in my heart of like wanting people to be passionate about the things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And they're just
Right.
not. And that's okay. But I have to deal with that. So
Yeah.
Amen. That's a
Yeah. I
beautiful
don't even know if I
breakdown.
could articulate
right.
it better
Like
than that.
that's it right there. That's the beautiful breakdown. So, we're just gonna close out with that. Travis and the Ghost, my man E-Dub, Spitters Forum,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Apostle Raw. Hop in the comments. Share with us what is it that you feel about hip hop?
Yeah.
What is it that you feel about Christian hip hop? Do you feel there is a divide? Let us know where you stand with that and how you feel about that. This is the Three Wise Men podcast. God bless and y'all have a good one. We out.
peace.